Yeah, so we
trying to
got
get
Jerry
my
Wuorenmaa with the Western U.P. Planning and Development Region. We're talking about this, frankly, massive tourism study that came out recently. Before we get into that, can you tell me about the Western U.P. Planning and Development Region and your role there?
yeah, Western U.P. Planning and Development Region, also known as WUPITR, is a state designated regional planning agency. These cover the whole state of Michigan, and we also have a federal designation as a district of the U.S. Economic Development Administration, which is the agency that funded this grant. We have a very wide range of activities: housing, transportation, environmental projects, tourism industry, obviously, pretty much any priority area that there's funding for, and we can do some kind of useful project on, along with assisting local governments with their projects.
And this is a large study. It covered 6 counties, about 6,000 acres. It took about a year and a half to complete, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
Um, what what were the goals? What were you trying to find out with this study?
Um, well, our main aim in the beginning of it was to try and find out what the economic impacts are of tourism and related businesses as they carry out through the whole economy. So, not just what people are spending and what workers are making in restaurants, lodging, etc., but also what are the indirect impacts, like the impacts of those businesses buying from other businesses, and then the labor income of those businesses. So, kind of, you might hear about multipliers. People talk about how many times does a dollar turn over in the community. So, that we're trying to get at that, to kind of give people a real numerical idea of what tourism means to us. And then the other part of it was there was a lot of research involved in this about what visitors are doing when they come to the area, of course, what they're spending, because we needed that information, but um, what are uh, the activities people are partaking in, that might give the local organization some ideas of what to promote more or what to deprioritize, maybe. Just how many people are coming to the area. There were a lot of data sources, including a visitor survey. So that's where a lot of it came from. But we have region level data in this, which is the 6 western counties of the UP, in our service area. And then we also have breakdowns county by county for a lot of this. So I think people might be interested to see what we found out about their local areas.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts, was seeing that breakdown county by county. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, going back to the whole region, what are people coming here for? What are they doing? Where are they going, and what are they up to?
Well, it might not surprise anybody to hear that it's largely about the natural environment. Um, it was, I guess, three of the most popular activities outside of winter, and even to some degree within, were hiking, waterfall viewing, and dark sky and northern lights viewing. Those were kind of the three that really stood out throughout most of the year. And a lot of those do get pretty heavily promoted already. So in that case, maybe keep doing what you're doing. But there were some other ones that, like some of the water sports, that you'd think we were very well positioned to build upon, and maybe didn't have the level of participation that we'd like to see. So, just one example. Um, Having kind of a break here.
Oh, I got it. What about
Um,
locations? Like, what were some of the like top five or so
mhm.
places we're going to?
Well, there were certain ones that we asked about because we knew they had a high volume of visitors or were important to the region as far as federal state designations. Porcupine Mountains Wilderness State Park is the one that really rises to the top in the Western UP as a single asset that people really have as a destination. Um, and then in the Keweenaw, there's the Keweenaw National Historical Park, Isle Royale National Park. So we asked about those. A couple of the wilderness areas of the Ottawa National Forest. So Sturgeon River Gorge Wilderness, sort of southwest of Baragon Lawrence, is an area that we think is kind of under the radar. And we wanted to find out who's going there. Sylvania Wilderness also towards Watersmeet. So those were some of the ones we asked about. Oh, also Black Harbor Recreation Area north of Bessemer is another pretty popular one out here. So we have numbers on those among the visitor survey respondents and some other data we got. Another one that's you can't really connect with specific visitor destinations, but we asked about special events, who's coming to participate in different special events. When it comes to college university stuff, probably Michigan Tech is the main destination for that. So you can kind of pick that out in that way. And yeah, I guess that's about it as far as specific places go.
Yeah. And then for there was really interesting demographic data on, what kinds of people are going to places around the West UP as well. Can you talk a little bit about what you learned there?
Um, are you thinking about the origins, where they're coming from, or
Yeah, where they're from, what they're coming to do, their financial bracket.
oh, right. Um, some of that was mainly just to the kind of information you want to get from any survey. So there was question about income of respondents, which you often see, but it was interesting to see the amount of spending on activities that people from different income ranges were doing. There was can't really think of specifics off the top of my head, but there were some kind of surprising things about spending associated with different income brackets. As far as geographic places people are traveling from, a lot of the ones you probably expect, Southeast, Lower Michigan, Chicago, Wausau, Green Bay, places like that. Really, the metro areas, a lot of people want to go up north. The Twin Cities also, Minneapolis, St. Paul, those tend to be people visiting the farther west part of the UP, maybe Gogebic County, and then Wisconsin people. A lot of them might make it as far as Iron and Gogebic counties, and then you have the Keweenaw, of course, as a top priority destination for a lot of people. So people are going to make it there from pretty much anywhere. But there's a heat map in the study that kind of shows the blotches of color where the most people are coming from, and it's really all over the United States, but largely concentrated in the Midwest, of course.
Uh, um, yeah, also in the study were these net promoter scores that seem kind of
Mhm.
interesting. Can you explain what those are and if there was anything interesting that you got from that data?
Um, yeah, so that's University of Michigan Economic Growth Institute um, use that it's been used in other research projects, I guess. They can speak to it best, but I will give kind of the basic overview that this asked in the survey, this question, how people felt about their experiences, basically. Were they sort of indifferent? Did they not like their experience, or overall were they positive about it? So the net promoter score takes the percentage of people who indicated they had a positive experience in addition to the ones who are kind of indifferent, and then subtracting the negatives. So it's basically subtracting the people who felt really good or okay, subtracting the negative people from them, and that gave the net score. The good news is we scored very well in the Western Upper Peninsula. They're kind of standardized cutoff points numerically for what's a good net promoter score. I believe it's anything above 50 or so is pretty good. And we came out like in the mid 70s to 80 or so through most of the region. And that was pretty consistent across opportunity or activity types and seasons. It was kind of interesting to see that the highest net promoter scores in some areas were in the winter. And I mean, that might seem kind of surprising at a glance, but then think about how a lot of the people who come in winter, at least a normal winter, maybe not last winter, are coming specifically for activities like skiing, snowmobiling, and they have a pretty good idea of the experience they're going to have to begin with. So it's good to know we try to put winter forward in promoting the region, even for attracting residents, and that seems to be a good approach. So yeah, that was a positive finding of the study for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, and a large chunk of the study at the end also deals with economic impact. Can you go into some highlights there?
Well, you're going to challenge me with the numbers now.
Or just, general takeaways, positives, negatives that were, learned from it.
mhm. Well, I really honestly didn't know what to expect as far as the numbers this was going to come back with. Travel Michigan, which is statewide or statewide agency, has some kind of numbers broken down by county, but we did this to get real specific and maybe based on a larger array of information, collect some numbers for our specific region. I'm just looking through some numbers here. The regional. Hang on. So we found that region-wide in the Western Upper Peninsula, the total direct, indirect, and induced economic output from tourism was $357.8 million and 3,060 jobs supported by tourism. So that number, to me at least, seemed a little low to begin with. But you have to keep in mind if you're talking restaurant employees, for example, not all those jobs are considered supported by tourism. They're also supported by the people who live in an area and are regularly going to those places. So it's a pretty complex thing to look at, but I guess another one is we have lodging jobs, recreation and entertainment jobs. Combined, those came to about 2,000 supported by tourism. So, I mean, they are some pretty good numbers. Sort of in the same ballpark as manufacturing, because the Economic Growth Institute did that comparison. And it's fairly, yeah, once again, I'm not going to say exactly aligned, but in the same ballpark as far as employment numbers as the manufacturing industry, just to give people some idea of that.
Huh. Yeah, it's it's just kind of challenging to pick which things to talk about because there's so much data in there. I think we covered a good um, overview of it, though. Is
Mhm.
there really anything else that stands out to you? Anything else that we haven't really touched on yet?
Well, again, I think just the feedback from visitors is going to be very helpful to our many partner organizations that participated in this, destination marketing organizations, Visit Kiwana, and many others, and then chambers of commerce, many of those also. They really helped us out and are going to use these results to learn about what they should focus on. The other thing I'll note is that tourism is important as an economic driver on its own, but it's also a way to try and attract permanent residents to the region. When you have people come and have a positive experience with that high net promoter score, maybe they'll think about whether there's a way that they can come and live here. And that's really what we need the most is those permanent residents. And I could go on, but remote work trends make more of that kind of thing possible too. So that's really what this means to me in the big picture. But the study is going to be useful for to back up some future funding, possibly for projects that tourism is important to, and just it's kind of a unique project, and it's nice to have it for a number of different reasons.
Gotcha. And then looking forward to the future, anything tourism related in the Western UP that uh, we can look forward to? Anything upcoming?
Um, just another great season with some big numbers. I think those are in the study as well. The number of visitors over the past few years, and everyone knows probably about the spike that we received in the pen when the pandemic began, but it really has continued pretty consistently after that bump into the next few years, and I think we're probably going to see more of that, and hopefully a lot of the tourism businesses can recover from the difficult winter season we had. And um, yeah, right now I'm just thinking numbers as far as the future, but there are all kinds of little local projects that are going to support the industry. I won't get into now. It's overall just a bright future.